Keith spielen?
So you said in an interview that true art needs obstacles and problems.
Yeah.
So what was a problem or obstacle on this film that made it better actually in the end?
Well, the main obstacle was not having access to the concert that the film is about. And it's almost like it's an impossibility, right? How do you tell a story of a great work of art without having this great work of art? This was my broken piano in this project. But I think it made the film better. In a way, just the same way that the Cologne concert wouldn't sound so special if the conditions on the stage were perfect, if Keith had access to this perfect piano to play on, then this concert would be just one of the rest of his oeuvre, you know? It wouldn't be special. It was special, it did transcend, it became his masterpiece because he played it on a broken piano. He had to invent something new to solve a problem. And our film, because we couldn't use the concert, we had to invent a new way of telling a music story. And I think that makes the film more interesting. And in any case, you know, when I think about the concert, it's over an hour long piece of music. And even if I had access to it, you know, I'm not sure I would use it because in a film you can only use 30 seconds. And it's not a pop song. It's not something that you can just excerpt and then celebrate properly. My hope is that people watch the film to see how this amazing piece of art was made. Then they go home and they listen to the record. And I promise you that once you watch this film, the record sounds completely different.
Funny thing, just a few days ago, I rewatched Walk Hard, which is like this pitch perfect parody on the music genre.
Yeah.
And I was so glad I wasn't reminded of Walk Hard while watching Köln 75.
Right.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Because the film is about Vera Brandes, who tries to get this concert made. And it's all about what happens in the background.
Right.
Would you be interested in a movie about the making of your movie? Because there's also 1,000 things that could go wrong on a film production.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I say to people that when you're a filmmaker, every day on set, you have a broken piano to deal with. The catering doesn't arrive and everyone quits. Or the cars aren't there on time, or the extras are dressed wrong, or someone messed up the schedule and an actor that's supposed to be there is stuck on a train. It just happens every single day. And I think filmmakers, you know, we're measured by our ability to improvise around these obstacles, around these problems. It makes the job great, it makes the job fun, and I think as you mature, you also understand to celebrate these errors, to celebrate these mistakes. You know, this film, you know, it starts with an opening and then it actually says, no, that's not the right place. This is a false opening. Let's start again. The idea is to actually embrace mistakes, not to try and create some artificially perfect thing. Because this story is all about the imperfect conditions that created an imperfect piece of art that is beautiful because it's imperfect. You know, there's a great talk by Slavoj Žižek about the impossibility of being perfect. He says, you know, if you meet a perfect person, they're way less attractive than someone who's close to perfect, but not. You need imperfections in life in order to create something really interesting. So I'm hugging imperfections. Every time there was a mistake, I welcomed it.
If a person would come to you 20 years from now saying I would like to make a movie about the making of Cologne 75, would you be up for it? Helping him, giving him guidance, giving him all the background stories?
Yes, of course. I think this is the natural process of developing art. It builds, it's like a staircase, and one piece builds on the other and builds on the other, the same way that, you know, I was really influenced by movies like 24-Hour Party People when I thought about this film. Movies that kind of tell the story of a scene without putting the focus on the person at the front of the stage, but rather kind of look at the people who are around, the organizers of the scene, which are people usually that you don't hear about a lot. So I think if someone came to me and said, I'd like to make a film about the making of this film, I'd say, go for it. I'll tell you everything that happened. It was a hard shoot. It was miserable at times. But that's just usually when things are hard, it means you're doing the right thing. Like if it's too easy when you make a film,
it's suspicious.
Something is suspicious, yeah.
In Berlin habe ich Keith Jarrett zum ersten Mal spielen sehen.
Ich will ein Konzert organisieren für Keith Jarrett. Ich werde den Saal füllen.
What's the best thing that came to be due to improvisation during that process now?
That's a great question. It's very hard for me to think because everything is improvised. Like, I always told Mala M, the main actress, I told her, this is your film and you're allowed to do whatever you want. I don't care about anything. If you decide to move off of your planned route, we will follow you. The camera will always pan to find you. You are free and you should lead. It's really, I didn't want this relationship of director-actress. I wanted this partnership where I just watch what she decides to do and I offer some guidance. And the only rule I put down on the table was you're not allowed to stand still for more than a second, because that's the kind of character she plays. And in a way, what happened is, it's a film about jazz, but it's super punk rock in its energy, in its soundtrack, in its movement. I think Vera Bandes is a punk rock character in her rebellion. And so every day on set, we just played. I can't think about a specific moment because everything was shot this way, other than the Keith sequences of the film, which were, I wanted them to feel very actually planned and very heavy, because I think that's the kind of energy he brought with him.
As you mentioned, you couldn't use any music from the Cologne concert. Did you avoid it altogether while shooting the movie, or did you kept going back to it to find the rhythm?
I avoided it because it really isn't a jazz movie, so to speak. Like it's really, so it's the 70s in Western Germany, and it's like Kraftwerk is inventing electronic music. And you have Can, who are playing psychedelic rock in this abandoned cinema in Cologne. And you have Neu, and you have so much happens. And you have Miles Davis coming to Jazz Days, and he's playing more like rock and roll than jazz. So it's so rich, this musical scene. And this was more the soundtrack for making this film. This is the spirit of our heroine. So that's why I keep saying, like, yeah, we're telling the story of how a great jazz concert was played, but the soundtrack to this that we also used on set, that we all listened to, was the soundtrack to this film, which is Can and Neu and really kind of punk rock and energetic music.
Kein Jazzkonzert, ein Keith Jarrett-Konzert.
Komplett improvisiert, frei. Niemand weiß, wo das hinführt. Selbst wenn das letzte Instrument auf der Welt wäre, Keith wird nicht drauf spielen.
Keith Jarrett didn't want to have any part in this project, but has he seen it by now?
I think we'll never know. I understand him, because if I can imagine, you're 29, he was 29 when he played this concert, and you're playing this one concert, and this is what everyone remembers for you. It becomes your one hit. It sells millions of records, and from now on, everyone that meets you says, oh, I love the Cologne concert. And since then, as you mature as an artist, you play hundreds of concerts, you release dozens of records, but everyone keeps coming back to this one thing. So it becomes like a rock band with a hit that everybody just screams, and they are so tired of playing it or talking about it or interacting with it. It's in the past. So I understand him, and I think I made the film, it's a love song to him and his process and his music and trying to understand him. But there's also a darker side to this. And that darker side is that Keith Jarrett, ECM, that camp, they did not want to give Vera Brandes the credit that she deserves. Without Vera Brandes, there would be no Cologne concert. And it's just a bunch of decisions that they made that make me think that they're not generous enough with the credit, seeing what she did to make this happen. And I really think this concert, we know it changed Keith Jarrett's career. So for that reason, I will never know if Keith watched or not. However, we had someone from Keith's camp who served as a consultant on this film, and that's Keith Jarrett's brother, Chris Jarrett, who is actually a great pianist and composer himself, which is a whole other story, because imagine being Keith Jarrett's brother and being a pianist. So he read the script and kind of approved it and told me, and that was one of the best compliments I received. He said, wow, this is exactly how my brother talks. And then he watched the film and he even came to the Berlinale, and it was really great.
Is there something like you want to share about the movie that you haven't been able to really talk about it yet? Because like with these interviews ask a lot of the same question, but is there like a particular thing about this film you haven't been able to talk about it yet?
I just like saying to people that this film is a love song. It's a love song to passion and to music and to making art. It's a love song for the 70s, and especially in the German-speaking world, and all the great culture and the way young people went out and did things, went out to the streets, changed the world. There was so much political energy back then, so much belief in the way that someone can change things. Vera Brandes is the embodiment of this type of figure that I think is really missing in the world today. So I think the film portrays that, and it's also a love song to Keith Jarrett. So it's for her, it's for him, it's for Cologne. It's just all love, you know? And I think it should really be experienced. And I bet everyone says that, but in the cinema, because the soundtrack to this film is really, really special. And you need a good sound system to enjoy it.
Musik kann uns aufwecken. Vielleicht kann gute Musik das erreichen.
Du bist Vera Brandes. Aber wenn irgendwer hier einen Weg findet, dann bist du das doch.